Fallout Equestria Survivors Guilds, Chapter 3, Part 2. I looked up at the ceiling of Ruby's home office. I still felt a little sweat, but for the most part I felt fine. I didn't know exactly how that worked, but talking to Luna actually did help a little.
Any luck?
Ruby asked as I looked over at her.
Yeah, a little bit.
I said as I sat up and stretched out my wings.
I can't believe Luna is still alive. Well, kind of. Yeah, it surprised me too. Imagine finding you have a princess living in your head.
Ruby said with a light of a chuckle.
It certainly does come in handy with ponies. Kind of a shame that it's limited to just when I can use the spell, though. That's okay.
I said with a shrug as I got to my hooves.
It was nice to meet you, Ruby. You too, Scootaloo.
Ruby said with a smile.
How long are you and Ark planning to stay in town? Probably just a few days, and Arclight is looking for some sort of enclave warlord or something that she's heard of. She apparently heard that their home is here.
I said with a shrug.
Sorry, I can't help you there.
She said with a sigh.
Though, if you want to stay for dinner, maybe Blue Sky can help you, or if you want, you can ask around. Sure, that sounds great.
I said with a smile.
We'll find a place to stay in town and join you this evening. Sounds good. Dinner should be ready at 18:30.
Ruby said with a nod.
Okay, I'll see you then.
I said, when I went to go talk to Arclight downstairs. This is DJ Pone3 coming at you with a news report, DJ Pone3 said over my earbuds as we walked out of the hotel. News reports are coming in from around Equestria of this unusual activity being carried out at night, as ponies seem to be vanishing under unknown circumstances. Authorities have no idea who's behind these kidnappings, but paranoia is starting to run rampant in these settlements that are affected. If any pony out there has any information on these incidents, please don't keep it to yourself. That was weird. It didn't sound like the Enclave's MO, but there wasn't really much I could do other than just wonder.
Any idea what we should really expect here?
Arclight asked as we headed into the house.
Just a normal dinner, right? Yeah, of course,
I said with a light smile, as we knocked onto the door and Blue Sky welcomed us into the house. Soon enough we were seated at the table, with me sitting next to Sunny, and Ruby passing out the food and taking her seat.
So you're from a stable like Mommy?
The unicorn filly Sapphire asked as she looked at Arclight's stable barding.
Yeah, I am.
Arclight said with a sad smile.
I'm from Stable 66 up in Manhattan. I've been traveling with Scootaloo since we left Manhattan, though. Cool,
Sapphire said.
Scootaloo, I wanted to ask you some questions.
Ruby said, making me perk up curiously.
About Stable 26. I mean, why did you pick my family? Your ancestor was Starheart and her family, right?
I asked it and she nodded.
Her father, Hayes, after his sister died in battle, he started to kind of question the war. I kind of knew him and Goldleaf a long time ago, so when I made the stable, I made sure that he was on the list for 26. He fit the requirement anyway. Wait, you knew him?
Ruby asked curiously.
Wait, when was that? Before I moved to Ponyville, I lived in New Orleans.
I said, which got a surprised look from Ruby and Blue Sky.
I was born here, actually, after I lost my parents. I was shipped around a lot before finally winding up in a foster home in Ponyville. I knew Hayes and Goldleaf in the orphanage here, and they were good ponies.
I remembered back to them. It was actually kinda nice to know that their family had survived for this long. They would be proud of what Ruby had accomplished after all. Just 2 more friends I'd never get to see again.
Well, I'm glad it all worked out.
I said.
Stable 26 was really important to me, and I'm glad it all worked out. You did a great job, Ruby. You made the settlement possible, and you helped Equestria a lot. And that's more than any pony could ever ask of you. And you performed admirably. Oh, thank you, Scootaloo,
Ruby said with a smile, and a blush creeped over her face. It was strange, but it was still visible despite her red coloring.
I did my best, really, but I'm not anything special.
Blue Sky just laughed a little. I couldn't help but chuckle too, even when she was an alicorn. She was humble, and I liked that.
So, Ruby, you said you're looking for the Enclave?
Blue Sky asked, looking at Arclight.
Yeah, the Enclave may have taken a friend of mine, so I'm looking for any clues about where they took her.
Arclight said, and I nodded in agreement.
There's a rumor that one of their generals is in the area. Well, I don't know anything about generals, but you might want to try Lakeview.
Blue Sky said with a shrug.
It's a settlement almost entirely populated by Pegasi. Many of them are Dashites. They might know something. Well, I'll check it out, I said, and Arclight nodded in agreement. Any pony in particular we should talk to? I'd... probably Shimmering Skies, Blue Sky suggested. She's in charge over there. We nodded and continued eating. It was gonna be an interesting few days at this rate. So, what can you tell me about the Enclave? Arclight asked as we got situated in our hotel room that night. Really, I can't tell you more than what you've heard from any pony here, I said with a sigh as I slipped out of my coat. Yeah, but you had lived under them, right? Arclight asked. I lived under them in the early days, yeah, I said with a shrug. They were just starting to gain power among the Pegasi. They didn't rule them, at least not completely. They really just took advantage of the growing thoughts and feelings among the Pegasi about what happened, and not to mention the eclipse. Wait, the eclipse? Ark asked. It's something Twilight told me once I met her daughter, something she learned about while she was in another world, I said, which got a strange look from Ark. Long story, but this other world's sun and moon acted differently than ours, so sometimes they would overlap or something. I think Equestria experienced one, but the Pegasi didn't know what it was, so they kind of panicked, and the Enclave took advantage of that, insisting that the princesses had forsaken us or something. Jeez, sounds like a real piece of work, Arclight said with a shake of her head. Yeah, well, by then I was living in Columbia with my husband and daughter, I continued. I started to speak out, you know? After Rainbow Dash left, I felt we had a duty to go back to the surface and, help ponies. The government didn't really like that, so they arrested me for treason, branded off my cutie mark, and exiled me. I didn't realize it at first, but I was starting to cry as I told the story. This was the story of how I'd lost my family. Even if I had found any surviving family, I'd never get to hold my little filly in my hooves again. That was probably the hardest thing to accept. Well, it seems you grew back, Art commented, and she glanced at my flank. Yeah, I don't know what's up with that earlier. Probably related to the magical stasis I was in, maybe? I don't know. I guess it had some sort of healing effect, I said with a shrug as I climbed into the bed and pulled the covers over me. Scootaloo, Ark said and trailed off for a moment. I really hope you do find what you're looking for. So do I, Ark. So do I said with a yawn. And I hope you do find your friend. Ark didn't reply, and said the room was filled with her light snoring. I smiled and drifted off into sleep not long after. When I opened my eyes, I was surprised to find myself looking up at an unfamiliar ceiling, and the feeling of warmth against my body. I looked down and I was surprised to see Sweetie Belle, resting against me, sleeping peacefully. What was going on? Was my whole life up to this point just a dream and I was waking up, or was something else happening? Scootaloo, are you okay? Sweetie asked as she looked up at me confused. You seem more tense than usual. Sorry, Sweetie, I've just been kinda stressed out lately, I guess, I said. I was still trying to process what was going on here, but I didn't want to ruin it, so I just hugged her. I'm so glad to see you again, Sweetie Belle. What are you talking about? You just saw me a few hours ago, Sweetie said and gave me a little kiss on the cheek. Come on, Cloudy will be up soon. Let's go get breakfast ready. I blinked a little and followed her. I took a long look out the window and everything was so normal. There was still a few signs of the war here and there, but things actually looked like they had almost returned to what it was like before the war. It was everything I had ever wanted. But why did it just feel so wrong? Scootaloo, I know things haven't really been easy for you since the war ended, Sweetie said as we started to make breakfast. The doctor said you're starting to make progress. Are you having those dreams again? Before I could answer, there was a sound of hooves running, and I was hugged by a pair of small forelegs. I looked down and smiled at the little blue Pegasus filly with a purple mane, who looked at me and I hugged her gently. Hey, Cloudy, I said as I held my daughter, tears starting to stream down my face as I did. How'd you sleep? I slept great, Cloudy said with a smile as she kept hugging me. Sweetie Belle hugged the two of us and smiled. You're gonna be fine, Scootaloo, I promise, Sweetie said as she nuzzled me gently. Your family's here for you. I didn't care if this was a dream or not. This was the best dream I'd ever had. I just wish that it didn't have to end. Come on, let's go see what Aunt Rainbow Dash is up to, Sweetie Belle said with a smile as we headed out of the house. When I woke up next morning back in the corridor, it was disappointing.
I even pinched myself to make sure that I wasn't dreaming. Of course, the fact that I woke up to Schooner licking my face also probably should have been a hint that this was real.
Are you okay, Scootaloo?
Arclight asked as we left the quarter. I hadn't really been talkative ever since we left the hotel.
Honestly, I don't know.
I admitted. I was still thinking about the dream that I had the night before. It felt like my subconscious had been mocking me with that.
Just thinking about something is all. That's it.
We kept walking towards the lake view. Luckily, it wasn't too far away from the quarter. As we reached out about halfway point through, Schooner stopped and growled.
Hey, what is it, boy?
I asked as I checked my EFS. There was definitely something around here. I readied my battle saddle and glanced at Ark, who levitated her rifle out.
What is it?
She whispered to me.
I don't know. Keep an eye out for something.
I answered as we started to walk forward carefully. The bars on my EFS were yellow for the moment, so I just had to hope that it wasn't going to turn red and attack us. As we moved farther along, however, our luck didn't really hold as the ground below our hooves started to shake, and we pulled back just in time as some thing just bursted out of the ground. It was like nothing I'd ever seen before. It looked vaguely like a crab, only with long claws and a hard shell. It was followed by two more, and even when I entered sats to get at them, my bullets just wound up hitting their hard shells and doing barely any damage. That figured really we couldn't even hurt these things.
What do we do?
Arclight asked as we kept shooting.
I have no idea. I don't even know how to fight this thing.
I said with a groan.
Why
Did we have to run into this now? There was a sudden shot from above, and the crab monster turned into a puddle of goop. That was unexpected. The other crab just looked up, which gave me a window to take it out with a few well-placed shots to the head.
You really should be careful,
A voice said from above us as a pony landed near us, a Pegasus dressed in beaten-up Enclave power armor. She looked at us through the insect-like visor.
You must be new here. Most ponies know how to avoid the stretch of the canal because of the sand crabs. Yeah. Sorry, we're from up north.
I said.
I'm Wanderer. This is Arclight. We're on our way to Lakeview. Are you with the Enclave?
Arclight asked, which made the pony let out a laugh.
I was. I went dash-eyed a few years ago. A lot of us did.
She said.
We're just trying to make a home here, and the Enclave, they just don't understand that. Well, that's good.
I said with a smile.
I'm glad that there are ponies out here that don't agree with the Enclave's policies.
The armor pony nodded, and we went on towards Lakeview. The trip to Lakeview was pretty uneventful. We passed through an overgrown park area thanks to our guide, seeming to know the best route to take through the park. When we left, we found ourselves on a street where the gate was open, with ponies keeping an eye out.
Ma'am, I'm glad you made it back in one piece.
The guard said with a salute as we approached the gate.
It's no big deal. I can handle anything the city can throw at me.
Our guide said with a chuckle as the gates opened.
Anything happen while I was gone? Just the usual caravan passing through.
The guard said as we walked into the settlement itself onto the market street.
You've done a nice job out here,
I commented, and as I looked through the market.
Yeah, we have. The last few years have been good to us.
Our guide said as we reached a building labeled Town Hall, and she led us into an office.
So, what really brings you here? You don't look like traders, and we don't really get guests very often from up north. We're looking for info on the Enclave,
Arclight said, and I nodded.
We think that they may have taken a friend of mine. We came this way because there's a rumor that a general has made their home here somewhere, in this city, and we were directed here.
The strange mare paused a long moment before removing her helmet. Beneath it was a golden-colored mare with orange eyes and a shorter light gold mane. There was something about this mare. Even if I didn't know who she was, there was something about her that commanded respect.
My name is Shimmering Skies. I run the settlement here,
she said, and offered a hoof for us to shake.
I'm also a dashite. I was under the general that you're looking for, so to speak. Wait, really? Where are they?
I asked. I hadn't heard any stories of the Enclave in a while attacking the city, so something about this was weird.
I mean, no pony seems to know where they are. The Enclave learned from their mistakes, per se,
Shimmering said.
And since General Marigold was killed, some of the generals have moved for underground. Well, except for Cloud Chaser, but he's even gone quiet from what little I've heard. I'm sorry, Arclight, I can't really tell you much more than that.
I sighed a little, making sure that my hat was secure. It seemed this trip was a dud from the Enclave perspective. Maybe, at the very least, we could at least get some more intel on them. I was surprised to see Shimmering Skies look at me curiously. I wasn't sure what could have attracted her attention so much, but I backed away a little. I wasn't even sure if she was ready to know who I really was yet.
So, you're the Wanderer, huh? I've heard about you from Pwn 3's broadcasts, she says. I'm sure you don't want to give away your real identity, but I have to admit I am curious. Every pony has secrets,
I said with a shake of my head.
My secret is too big for just any pony to know, at least for now. I understand,
Shimmering said with a nod.
There are some secrets that this world's aren't really ready for yet. Something I know all too well.
I looked at her curiously for a moment, but I wasn't about to pry as she removed her armor. I spotted the very familiar Dashite brand on her flank, and she stretched her wings out.
So, why did you turn on the Enclave?
I asked curiously.
After Sunshine and Rainbows, the Enclave started to clamp down even more. It's what caused events like the Columbia Rebellion and the Civil War that followed,
Shimmering explained with a sigh.
Then there was the selection of the President and the formation of the Wonderbolt Generals. Since then, things have gone too desperate, and the Enclave's trying to take over the wasteland. Many of us didn't really agree with that, and well, even with the Enclave remnant, the Dashite policy still stands. Yeah, that is certainly a pain in the flank,
I said with a groan, remembering when I was branded, which got a strange look from Shimmering.
Interesting choice of words,
she said. Crap. Me and my big muzzle.
Are you a Dashite 2 Wanderer? It's complicated, and part of the reason why I want to keep my identity a secret,
I said with a sigh.
Let's just say I left a long time ago.
Shimmering nodded in understanding.
Well, Dashites are always welcome here for as long as you want to stay, as are stable dwellers too.
We smiled and headed back out of her office. We spent a few weeks in New Orleans before I went to talk to Ruby again. There was one place I wanted to go while I was here to make sure that, everything was in order. I had to take a trip to Stable 26. Arclight said that she wanted to stay behind in the quarter. I guess I understood, which is how I wound up standing in front of the stable door with Ruby.
What are you looking here for?
Ruby asked as I opened the door using my Stable Tech override code.
It's complicated,
I said with a long pause.
It's probably nothing really. I just want to check on something that was placed in your stable. Wait, you placed something in Stable 26?
Ruby asked curiously.
Wait, so if you did that, what was it? Nothing you should be concerned with,
I said as the door opened.
It's probably nothing anyway.
Ruby nodded and we headed in. It was kind of strange to see the stable empty, but I was actually happy here. It meant that Stable 26 had worked, and it had given me the best chances I could get, so the fact that it still worked filled me with confidence that I had done something right all those years ago. Still, it was kind of creepy to walk through the empty hallways and rooms. The stable was completely empty. Other than the equipment, it was like walking through a ghost town.
What was it like growing up here?
I asked Ruby.
It wasn't too bad,
Ruby said with a shrug.
The stable's council always made sure that we were taken care of, especially after what happened with my parents. Wait, so what happened to them?
I asked. I knew that they had died, but Ruby never really went into detail in her book.
There was an accident with the air filtration systems. They saved every pony else in the stable, but it cost them their lives,
Ruby said sadly.
I was still young at the time. Friends of my parents took me in and, well, the rest.
I nodded as we entered the council office. It was a little bigger than your standard overmare office with a table at the center. I took a seat at the terminal on the desk off to the side and started typing.
I saw the memory orb of your parents' accident,
Ruby said, which made me pause a moment.
Scootaloo, I'm sorry. It couldn't have been easy for you to carry that around with you for so long. It really wasn't,
I admitted with a sigh.
I managed to deal with it for a little while, having Apple Bloom and Sweetie Belle helping out, but when the war started up, well, it didn't really help any, and all those memories were brought back up.
Oh, Ruby said with an understanding thought. I finished inputting the commands and brought up the lines of code from the terminal for what I wanted the information from. Time since last accessed, 211 years ago, 2 months.
Well, that's good. It meant that it hadn't really been accessed since last time I was here, which was a few months before the megaspells fell.
I continued to scroll down, checking the information. Failsafe protocol active. Protocol Zeta offline. Key intact. That just confirmed what I knew from Stapletech's building. Well, at least that meant the computer wasn't just messing up. That was a good sign. Stable networks. Status unknown. Well, that really wasn't good, but there was nothing I can really do from here.
Wait, what's Protocol Zeta?
Ruby asked over my withers.
Nothing. Don't worry about it. It's just something I wanted to check on.
I said and closed up the terminal.
Let's head back to the quarter.
Ruby nodded and we headed out of the stable. Another 2 weeks had passed. It actually kinda felt nice to be in the quarter. Like, for the first time we actually could really settle down. That being said, I was starting to feel a bit antsy, and so was Arclight. After we still had to find the Enclave, and I wasn't any closer to finding the answers I was looking for here, so we just ended up discussing where to go next when the radio suddenly changed to DJ Pwn3's voice. Ponies of the Equestrian Wasteland, this is DJ Pwn3 coming at you with a special news bulletin. The Enclave remnant under General Bluejay has taken control of the city of New Pegasus, followed by the death of Mr. Ryder. The new Candlelight Republic is starting to mobilize their forces to move onto the city, but there's a little hope of them getting there in time. The status of the ponies living in New Pegasus is currently unknown. Pray to Celestia and whatever deity you believe in that the Enclave can be stopped in time.
Looks like I know where we have to go next,
I said as I looked over at Arclight. She nodded in agreement. It didn't take long to get ready. We bought the ammunition and provisions we were going to need before setting out north. Our next stop was the train station, and hopefully after that, New Pegasus. It was time to get answers from the Enclave. Level up. Perk received. I prefer to be called a hacker, rank 1. Details. You developed your skills with terminals to the point where terminals have a harder time keeping you out. You can now hack advanced terminals.